was kind of funny. Someone posted it on Twitter. They're like, I don't know what part of the hood Zeus grew up in, but that's the biggest BS baby daddy's excuse that he didn't know his father. And part of it is, that was that we took all those little clues and said, well, okay, then maybe this is the kind of guy he is. He's great in some respects and he's terrible in other respects. And that's how the guy.
Let me just start off with our welcome to everybody. Kalosas Vrikame. Yes, say thank you guys for joining us. Look who we have on the show. We have Charlie, we have Vlas, Parlapanides, and they're the producers, writers, and showrunners, I think, of the Netflix show Blood of Zeus. And hey, thank you guys for coming. And of course, I've got my lovely co-host Aurora. I've got my son Papa Yanni here. Yanni because of the beard. Yes.
One day.
Yanni looks like he's ready to become a monochol, like he's ready to go be a monk. I like it. It's a good look.
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
For having it.
Yeah.
So we've got, hey, thank you guys for joining us. We've watched and rewatched Blood of Zeus, Netflix, and we see that I was looking at the trailer today. I think it's at 5 million views on the trailer, and I know that when you guys came on the show last month, things have just kind of, those are the most watched stuff we've done. So people care about Blood of Zeus more than my cooking.
One thing that we can share, Bob, with you, and it makes, and I speak for Charlie when I say this, at least I know I do, when the Greeks say that they really enjoyed the show and they love the show, that really makes us feel good. We wanted to do right by them. The Greeks here, the Greek Americans here, the Greeks in Greece. And, from the critics that we've spoken, they seem to, the majority of the Greeks really have enjoyed the show, take pride in the show. And so that really just made us feel, fantastic when we heard that. It really made us feel good. We wanted it, again, to do right by them. So it started on your show, and we reached out to some of those people. And the fact that they enjoyed the show, really made us feel great.
Wow. And I tell you, we're just very proud, the power, we always say this is not our story, this is Greece's story, like that we have done well on Netflix in places like India and Nigeria and Trinidad and Tobago. Those are not places that I would have immediately thought, like, yes, they are going to respond to a Greek anime, like, yes, like that is where we're going to blow up. But they have, and I just think it's incredible. We've been in the top 10, Netflix's top 10, in over 80 countries for 8 days. And again, I think it speaks to the power of Greek mythology, the power of our culture, and this amazing kind of cultural inheritance. And we just feel so lucky to be able to be telling stories in this sandbox. So it's pretty amazing. And thank God we're Greek. That's all I can say.
I agree with Charlie. I think it is a testament to how beloved the Greek mythological tales are in the world. There were people that had never seen an anime before in their lives, and they said, I love Greek mythology. Let me check this out. And then they were pleasantly surprised. Now, of course, if you love anime and you love Greek mythology, man, then this is the show for you.
I think it's the only show for you. Yeah.
But we were surprised by just how it was able to cross over, as Charlie mentioned. And that was a pleasant surprise. And it was really able to do that. And we attribute that, the show is, it's a good show, but we attribute that to the fact that people really love Greek mythology. And so we are, just very, very fortunate, as Charlie said, to be Greeks and to be able to share these amazing stories with the world.
Well, you guys are doing a great job. And it's, I wanted to ask you about, Greeks can be pretty harsh critics, when you're messing with their stories, and one of the things I wanted to ask you was, I know you've done some interviews with the Greek reporters, probably the Greek reporter, but you've done some interviews, with Greek media. I just wanted to kind of ask you how that went. I mean, what did they think? How did they feel about it?
Bob, there's an old saying, at least in our world, you have 10 Greeks and you get 12 opinions. So we are inherently, there's a reason why all the city states used to fight each other, but thankfully the 4 or 5 Greek reviews we've gotten, they've all been super positive, 9 out of 10, 4.5 out of 5 stars. They've really responded to it. And they've told us, we're so proud of the show and that you've kind of put a kind of shined a light on these stories and this heritage that we have. So that for us just was so important. It meant so much to us. So we're so glad that it's resonated with them and that they've liked it and they've really responded to it.
Yeah, you learn, Bob, too. As you do this, you learn things, and it's important to learn, and then you hopefully apply them to other projects. And I think what really helped this project is that we set the table. We said, okay, this is an oral tradition. They weren't some of these tales, weren't transcribed. If they weren't transcribed, there's maybe one was lost, and we're going to postulate that this is one of those lost tales. By doing that, we learned that from Immortals, that we didn't really do a good job of explaining that, to be honest. And by doing that, people embraced it. People just looked at it differently, and they were like, oh, that's interesting. And so that was a thing that we learned, and a thing that worked. Sometimes something works and sometimes it doesn't. Thank God for us that did work. And then we always thought, and Charlie always says this, and I agree with him, some of the fun of watching the show is, if you know your Greek mythology, you recognize this little story here. You recognize that little story there. And then you see, okay, and then the guys took it this way or that way, and this is an original piece. And the Greeks enjoyed that. They embraced that. They said, oh, here's this story that I recognize, and I have a knowledge of Greek mythology. And oh, this is what the guys did that was a little bit different. And I like what they did. Because as Charlie always says too, there are certain tropes in some of the characters that are still part of Greek mythology, and those tales are in our world, in our story. So it worked. For whatever reason, it was embraced. It could easily have been rejected too, but
there was a Greek professor that reached out to us on Twitter, and he said, listen, as Vlas mentioned, he recognized the certain tropes and archetypes and some of even the characterizations of some of the gods. He goes, oh, I recognize those. He goes, but what I also enjoyed, and I was surprised, was that it was nice to watch a myth where I didn't know what the ending was going to be. I didn't know where it was going. And so that was kind of a nice surprise, because I guess, we've all read these stories, and so we kind of know where they're going. But because this was, kind of, as Vlas mentioned, an original story, he enjoyed the fact that he didn't know how it was going to, conclude and how it was going to end. And so that was just really nice to hear from someone who teaches this material.
Yeah. Sure. No, that's fantastic. Yeah, that's what I enjoyed about it as well. I mean, there were these beautiful themes. I mean, some were beautiful, some were horrific, but there were these great themes that kind of ran through the story that we'll kind of get to. But
tragedy is a big part of our lexicon, in the Greeks. I mean, it's either a comedy or a tragedy, and Vlas had a few good one-liners. He's always the one slipping in one-liners, but there's a lot more tragedy than comedy in Blood of Zeus, for sure.
Aurora, yeah. I want to hear what you liked. Like, I love getting the female perspective on things. What did you like? What did you enjoy? And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but
no, you're fine. I really, really like the animation. I would say, like, first and foremost, I was blown away. I didn't know what to expect, but when I saw it, I was like, oh my god, like Hera. Oh my gosh, beautiful. Oh. That I really enjoyed. I think that's like a female thing, because you were just like, eh.
It looks good. I like it.
Yeah, I was just like, I couldn't stop that. I thought the whole thing was amazing. Like the love story, all of that. I mean, I'm a sucker for that stuff. So yeah, and I cried. And if I cried, then I know it's good.
Oh, good. I love that.
Yeah. And the last episode, I was like, wait, what's next? What's next?
Good.
And nothing. And I was sad.
So, yeah. Well, I mean, there was a tease at the end.
Well, yeah, but I was just like, come on.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
We talk about romance. We're suckers for romance. I think James Cameron, he does the action films, but there's always a romance. There's a romantic element whether it's even like in Terminator, there's a romance between the two leads, and obviously Titanic, and you name and Avatar. So like I would just like that. I like seeing people fall in love. I like seeing people, Charlie even mentions it, the soap part of it. And that is something that appealed to people. And that's why it's always helpful as writers to hear, what did you like? What didn't you like? And the soap component was something that people liked. And it was
not to go all big fat Greek wedding, but I mean, we invented soap operas too, because that's what these stories are. They're kind of soap operas. This one's cheating on this one. This one's trying to kill this one. This person,
it's royal intrigue, right?
Yeah.
I told Vlas this could have been War of the Roses.
Yeah.
It could have been. There's so much. I'm sorry. What?
No, it's Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I think Game of Thrones already took that. But yeah, we were watching Game of Thrones years ago, and I said, "Hey, I think it's Game of Thrones." And then dragons show up. And all that. Like, okay, it's not. But I loved it, and I think we were looking. I didn't see it coming. This Heron and Seraphine's kind of relationship that came out of nowhere. I mean, when you think back to it, go, oh,
that makes sense.
That makes sense, right? but I didn't. It was really truly a surprise, and that was fantastic. And spoiler alert to whoever hasn't seen it yet, but there was this. We're talking about the spear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There was this
giving.
Yeah, taking. because you have this beat throughout about you got to let go of your anger. You have to, it was like, and I think it's almost as if driving that spear into his body was how he was letting go.
Yeah.
The anger. And he let, and then of course it goes into Seraphine, but it was like still sends chills up and down my spine. Because honestly, I only watched a little bits of animation. In fact, I remember when this has got to be 2003, we took Nick and John to see an animation. Nick really wanted to see anime at the movie theater, and it's I think the first one there. What was it called? That one with pigs and
Spirited Away.
Yeah,
that was a couple years ago.
Horrific movie
for
little kids. And that was my only experience with anime. Then I saw it, and it was that beat that, I mean, it wouldn't let go. It wouldn't let me go. It couldn't. I binge watched all 8 episodes. I mean, we all did.
I did that.
Yeah.
It was that type of show,
And Bob, something the ancient Greeks believed is that you grow through pain. And I know sometimes, in this day and age, we want to protect our kids, and we bathe them in Purell, and we try and protect them from everything. But sometimes, we have to remember the lessons from the ancients. You grow through pain. And so, there is an element of that in the ending. And sometimes we grow from difficulty. And I think that's something we forget sometimes in this day and age.
I agree.
But we've all had, not in 2020, not in 2020. We've all learned to live with difficulty.
But we're here to grow. We're here to grow. I agree with that 100%. And I always liked, and when the old man tells Heron's like, gods can't come in and swoop away all of our problems. We need adversity. Adversity, if we don't have it, then we're weak and pathetic. Adversity is what makes us who we are. Now, there's times where adversity can break someone. So you have to be careful how you deal with adversity. But there's also times where that adversity, you can come out shining from that. You can become a better person for that. So we can't control what happens in our lives, but we can control how it affects us. And, we have to hope that we can take that adversity and grow in a positive way, grow spiritually, grow psychologically, grow physically, whatever that may be. And so, I totally agree with Charlie. It's painful to grow. You don't grow in a bed of roses.
Right. No, that's true.
And you guys show that perfectly with Heron and Seraphim. I mean, Seraphim's the one who holds on to the anger throughout the entire story. He thinks it helps him, makes him stronger, does everything for him. But Heron, I mean, when we go back to the spear point, that's when he learns, no, there's a different perspective to this. You can find a different way out. And he drives the spear through him to hit his brother.
Is that what you were shooting for?
You got it. Our Sunday school boy. Yeah, you got it.
Hey, you're the one who look at the Bible and find a different perspective. So.
That's what you've been talking about, actually. Like when we were watching it, that you kept bringing that up.
Exactly.
Like,
Well, John, that's very astute, and we wanted to explore anger. So you have 3 different characters dealing with anger, and it affects them in 3 different ways. Heron is able to let go of that anger, and he's able to overcome the adversity comes. That anger ends up just, basically destroying Seraphim. He never had that father figure either. He never had someone give him that good advice. And that's something, God willing, we'll see, if we're afforded a season 2, we want to delve into. And then Charlie I always like how he says this for Hera. She went too far. Her anger pushed her too far. And for me, it's like, then she's going to be forever changed. We're going to see a different part of her, God willing. If we're lucky, we can't talk about it if we're afforded. But we explore anger with all 3. So I'm glad that you got that. I'm glad that you were able to see this guy let it go, this guy destroyed, and for the 3rd character, it's going to forever change them in a way. So
it all comes too from Aristotle in Poetics. He said one of the great tragic flaws is when a character goes too far and they realize, oh my God, what have I done? And, for us, I'll never forget seeing The Bridge Over the River Kwai, the great Alec Guinness, who, then went on to be Obi-Wan Kenobi. When you watch that film and when he literally says those words, it's right out of place. What have I done? When he realizes he's trying to stop his own commandos from blowing up the bridge that he just built. For us, that was always the goal for where we wanted to land with Hera. Oh my God, like, what have I done? She takes it too far. But then also, we do think that that's an interesting place then to continue that story, because where does she go from there after realizing she's gone too far? And
did you guys? There was this moment with Zeus and Hera at the final battle, and she's in his arms, and they're flying up, and he winks.
Yeah.
Did you guys actually write that in? The wink.
That was Sean's idea, the director. That was all Sean. He said, "Listen, it would be just great to bookend it with this," and we're like, "Gold, great, go with God, do it."
I noticed that too. That was like one of the things. Like right after it happened, we were like, "Oh my God, that's like."
Yeah, because they do
they did that at the beginning.
In the very beginning.
Yeah,
him saving the day, like how he always does.
And he winks at her.
And then at the end, it's his doom. Like he winks at her and says, "I'm still saving the day."
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have Sean to thank for that. He crafted that moment, and we were just blessed to have Sean Negocian direct this. Another prayer that was answered, one of our mothers, another prayer, because he crafted that moment, and and then that ended up being a bookend at the end, and it worked beautifully. People love that moment.
Oh yeah.
At the end, and so that was really, when you talk about, I get teary eyed when I see that, and I like getting teary eyed. I mean, I like having a emotional response to whatever I'm watching.
That's what you did.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of comments.
Oh yeah, a lot.
We were all on the couch in the big living, in the downstairs living room area, the kind of like TV viewing area, and they were there. Nick and Anna were there, and we were all like watching it, and we were like all sinking into the couch.
Yeah.
We were just trying to disappear into the couch, while watching it. It was just a tremendous movie. But when I watched Wonder Woman, there was a scene in Wonder Woman where it's bathing in these pools scene, where everybody in that scene is just human. Everybody in that scene. Without that scene, I think Wonder Woman would have just been a throwaway movie, to be honest with you. I think that scene is what, and I kind of, when I look at, your your movie. I mean, it's so cinematic. I don't know what to call it. You know, you can't call it a Netflix show because it's like it's cinematic from there was like these to me that final kind of relationship between Zeus and Hera, that to me was that moment. You know, without that moment, without that connection that you guys wrote, that yes, you know, I can't, it's almost like this is who I am. I can't escape it. I'm a philanderer. I'm this. I can't escape that, but I love you. You know, it's like you can tell they've been through so much together.
That's right.
It was like it's almost like that was his fate, was to do these things and to hurt the people that love him, but he couldn't escape it. And I think that to me was what kind of grounded the whole story and kind of made it so much more than kind of like this cool movie, you know. Yeah, it's a cool movie, but then there's these, and I kind of saw it more than once, because I mean there were different little attributes like that to me just elevated it to another.
Those moments are what are special about, you know, crafting those emotional moments. You everything that you've encapsulated it beautifully for Zeus, and also how it hits Hera. In that moment, you see it hit her. Oh my God, it's the moment that Charlie said, "What have I done?" And then it goes empathy, you know, and so you go from extreme anger to love, and when you can, and they're really close together, guys. You know, a guy we used to work with said on the battlefield, you know, you experience love and hate because you're trying to get the other guys, but also love for your fellow brothers that are falling, the men that you're fighting with. And so love and hate are very close together. And I think that you can go from like hating someone, loving someone, because especially if you had such a shared experience. And, you know, and I'm glad that you mentioned that you felt it was cinematic, because that was something that, you know, was a mandate. You know, Charlie and I had told Sean, we want this to be as a cinematic experience as possible. And Sean, man, he just nailed it. So you can look at the shots that he has. He treated it like a movie with the reaction shots, the setups, the music, all of these things. They were conscious choices that were made to make it feel cinematic, to make it feel as, you know, epic as we can make it feel. So, you know, I enjoy, you know, it's gratifying to hear you say that it felt cinematic and it felt like a movie, because we tried doing that.
And Bob, what you touched on is about characterization. If you look at these stories, you know, Zeus was not raised by his father. He was raised by his grandmother. So it was a single parent home. And, you know, what, you know, happens to a child that doesn't have that guidance of a father. But then he was always described as a great warrior. When Typhon attacked Olympus, all the other Olympian gods fled, but he stayed and fought. And, you know, he was the one that convinced the other giants to join sides with him so they could finally win that war. Like, so part of it is when you look at someone, and it was kind of funny, someone posted it on Twitter. They're like, I don't know what part of the hood Zeus grew up in, but that's the biggest BS baby daddy's excuse that he didn't know his father. And part of it is, you know, that was that we took all those little clues and said, well, okay, then maybe this is the kind of guy he is. He's great in some respects and he's terrible in other respects. And that's how the gods were. They were flawed. You know, they weren't perfect divine beings. And so we think that makes him interesting. And for us, he's one of our favorite characters. And we hope people liked this depiction of Zeus. But you hit, you know, the nail on the head. It's about him being flawed.
Yeah.
I think it's relatable. It's what it's so true. That's what makes it, because we see ourselves in that. Of course, we want to be like, you know, more moral pillars, but we're not. We're, you know, there's times where we sin, we're often, you know, and we're trying to get better, and we're picking ourselves up, and then we make some of the same mistakes. And I think people, again, they just see themselves in that. They recognize that, you know, it's something that's relatable.
And the ancient Greeks were very pious. They were very pious and devout in their faith to the gods. And that's something that I think, you know, sometimes people forget, you know, and how seriously they did take.
Let's not forget the food.
Yeah.
Well,
no, Charlie was right. I don't want to make light of it. He's absolutely right about that.
Yeah. no, it all kind of came together, though. I'm so happy for the success of it and how it's come together. There's there's a character that I think Alexia. Is it Alexia?
Alexia.
Yeah, Alexia. And that I just loved, that character. It's, if you ever get a chance to do a spinoff, man, or do a prequel,
We just want a season 2, Bob. We don't want to get greedy.
I'm just saying.
I think you're on 3, 4, 5, 6.
I laid down money for that one. That character to me was just incredible, and so Heron, Seraphim, Alexia, and Hera, those those 4 characters and their interactions with each other were scary and beautiful at the same time.
Yeah, and Bob, I think Vlas, if you want to address that, how we had more stuff for her, and we weren't able to get it in.
It broke our heart. We had a backstory for her. We had it in. It was all written, and in the end, we just ran out of real estate. Because the challenge in these were 22 pages, 20 pages, and they were about 25 minutes to a half hour episodes. And so you only are afforded to spend a certain amount of time with each character. So we had Zeus, we had Seraphim, we had, Heron, and we had Hera. So those were the 4 main ones. But we loved so many characters. Alexia was one, and we wanted to share that backstory. And it was right there. And then at the last moment, we just didn't have the real estate. And that killed us because some people have said, hey, she starts off really strong. And then she kind of, towards the end there, we don't know exactly much about her. And it felt as if maybe we didn't kind of, give her her due. And there was also an action beat that Charlie said, I will pay for this out of my pocket. If I will pay for it. And he said it. He fought wars for this piece. And I really feel that it would have helped because we introduced her as a very strong character. And where this scene came up, it was like kind of a continuation of that strong female empowerment character leading men. And we ended up losing it. It was just, we couldn't afford to do it at the end. So she is someone, God willing, if we get a season 2, that we want to further explore, further, share her backstory and delve into, that character and give her.
That's the beauty of graphic novels now. You get, you can, I remember watching Star Wars, and I watched it when it came out in 77. But the first thing I did was almost immediately, because I remember I wasn't even, I think it was maybe first year of college, so it had to be 78. There were Han Solo books out, and you could read so many more things about Han Solo, and there were books, and then later on there were comic books, and by 1980 there were all kinds of, Marvel had Star Wars comic books. I think I still have them in my closet somewhere. So man, you guys are world builders. There's so much.
Our ancestors built the world. We're just playing in their sandbox,
True, right? But you're definitely adding a next level of interest to some stories that have just been told over and over again, and you guys have just done a wonderful job doing that. But yeah, I think there's all kinds of things to explore.
Listen, Bob, Vlas and I sometimes we're a little crazy. We drive our reps crazy, but we have ideas for spin-off shows. We have ideas for future seasons, and but in the end, it all comes down to the audience and how they respond and how many people watch, and that will dictate how long the story goes. And
Charlie's right, man. He hit the nail on the head there, and I can't tell you that we get so excited from just exploring, you get a new little kernel in the Greek mythological tales. And you're like, oh, I didn't know about this. And, oh, here's an opportunity to bring the audience into this world that we've never seen, the 5 rivers, whatever it may be. and it just gets us so excited, whether it's a character, a new location, and when Charlie said, like, these are the stories of our ancestors, and they are truly amazing. Guys, we've done research on other mythologies. We have. And I know I'm biased, but when you compare the Greek mythological tales to some of the other ones, they're not even close. It's just amazing how much thought went into some of these tales, and the details, from a character perspective, from a location perspective, just from the imagination that we see, and it's so exciting. Like every time we come across them, we're like, oh, wouldn't that be cool? Or let's explore this character, and how did that character get to where he was? It's just amazing.
Listen, the breadth and scope of Greek mythology is really staggering. Now, there was an awesome story we came up with for the world of Norse mythology, and one day I hope we'll definitely sit down and write that. That was too good of a story to kind of let go. But it is just so impressive. Like when you sit down and you start reading through these canons, just again the scope and thought and detail of Greek mythology. You know what I mean? It really is impressive. Now, again, we're uber biased because we grew up hearing about these stories. We've always loved these stories. So, but it's just kind of like, loving chocolate your whole life, and then when you deep dive, there's like you're in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and there's like it's even richer and greater than you even imagined, it ever could be.
It's true. It has nothing to do with us. It's just like, oh, there's a good story. I'm like, hey, how about we use this one like this or that one? But that's the clay, and we're just taking that clay, and we're just like, oh, why don't we try building this? We try building that, but it's the clay is the clay. We didn't create the clay.
You guys certainly worked with the clay and made it something truly cinematic, truly special. And I don't want to keep you guys much longer because I know you've been at this all day, and here we are going on to an hour. I think
an hour almost.
Is there? Do you guys have any more questions?
Really, all my things are just commentary on how great you guys did. I mean, I loved all the tropes threw in. Even the ones that are more on the messed up side, such as Greeks not killing things, they would throw them off of mountain clay. Like, you guys hit every single nail. So
the ancient world was a brutal world sometimes. They had a lot of amazing ideas, but it was also, sometimes we forget, we live in a good world. There's a lot of bad news in the headlines, but there's also a lot of good in the world today too.
What would you want to see more of?
I like the fates.
The fates, they were cool.
We talked about that for like an hour. We were like, wow.
But more of I wasn't prepared. I definitely liked your Pancration fighter and the smugglers. Those guys.
That's cool.
That's based off of a true story. Kofi was his name in actuality. The Pancration fighter, and he was a slave in a silver mine in Athens, and he was from what is now modern day Ethiopia. And he basically eventually won his freedom in an athletic competition, and he became a citizen of Athens. Now, we're not saying that's him, but that's why we called him Kofi, and we asked that he speak with a North African accent to kind of honor this story that we came across when we were doing research. And we just thought it was cool that this guy became this champion, and then he became a citizen of Athens for the rest of his life. So that we thought that was cool.
He's a great actor too. The guy that voices.
Oh, Addie's so good. If you watch Castlevania, he voices Isaac.
I could tell the voice. He was
amazing. There's another example. Killed us not to be able to spend more time with him and to spend more time. And Charlie just said some of his story. How cool would that be, to even get more of that and delve into that and see what it's like for someone like that at that time period? Are you kidding me? It's that's the big
director Sean always said if we had more episodes, he goes, I would love to do just an episode with these two. And we're like, we but listen, we're very blessed. Like, Netflix, they took a real gamble on our show. They rolled the dice, and we're happy that it seems to be paying off for them. So, we're very grateful that we don't want that lost in any of this. And just because there's lots of stories we want to tell, Like, we just want to emphasize how grateful we are for the opportunity we were given.
100% on Rotten Tomatoes. So like the critics have really liked it too.
Oh, good.
I don't know what they're gonna, so like, sometimes like for whatever reason, again, they embraced it and enjoyed it, and we're happy for that and grateful.
Well, we've all embraced it and enjoyed it as well.
It's always better to be watching it with a little Greek food. It just makes it all that much better.
Yeah.
I think we're watching with handkerchiefs too.
Hey, listen, in ancient Greece, you were obligated. It wasn't even a choice. You had to go to the theater and watch the plays and watch what they put up. And those were commentaries on the day's events and on politics. And they felt this was a way to keep people educated. And listen, we all sit down in front of the boob tube and, we watch some stupid reality shows. My wife and daughter and I were all guilty of it too.
Me too.
But part of in storytelling, we develop empathy and we learn and we can be exposed to bigger ideas. And I know this is like, a hand-drawn 2D cartoon, but, we try to slip a little bit of that in there too. When you talk about the fates, not to kind of mix pagan and Judeo-Christian ideas, but that thing about fate and free will, that was told to me by a monk at Ayanagiri, the monastery just outside of Sparta, back in 2005. And because I had asked him some questions, and I said, how can, people have prophecy, but then we're given free will? And he told me the example of the child walking across the table. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And so,
absolutely,
it's real ideas in there.
It's important to share something positive like that. I'm just going to share just a quick story. One of the critics on Rotten Tomatoes shared with us. She's in Texas. She's a woman, and she goes, listen, she goes, I totally, because we asked her, what did you like and what resonated with you? And she goes, listen, I'm minimalized and I'm angry, because I'm Mexican, I'm a woman, I'm in Texas, and I get very, as I mentioned, very angry, and it's important for me to take that anger and not let it adversely affect my life. As Heron, okay, I'm angry, but I learned I have to let it go. And I have to focus on the positive, so that when she saw the scene that John had mentioned, that really resonated with her. And so when you hear something like that, and she actually found that to be inspiring, made her feel a little bit better. I mean, there you go. To share a story, to make someone feel a little bit better in their everyday life, I love that idea. If we can make someone cry, laugh, whatever, again, and leave them with a positive message, that's,
what more can you ask for?
What else can you? Yeah, exactly.
And for people to remember that it's not just these cool stories with monsters and gods and cool stuff, but like the ancient Greeks, that when you read about the cave, like that is directly what inspired the Wachowskis to write The Matrix. Like they also had big ideas and they're tragic ideas and interesting ideas about the nature of our reality. That's all part of Greek mythology. And so it's just this amazing sandbox that we just feel blessed to be able to work in.
All that's true, but she loved the monsters too. So we get monsters too. So, we get monsters in there. It just is like, oh, good, a monster. Like everyone loves a good monster.
Well, just remember that even the great classical playwrights were separated from your story by more than 1,000 years. Even the great playwrights in classical Athens were still separated by 1,000 stories. Even maybe they were codified in song or whatever, there's still 1,000-year separation. So I'm sure there's been embellishes. I'm sure that there's been additional stories that have been kind of added onto them to make them even more interesting. And so to me, you guys are just walking in the same footsteps of that great tradition of Greek storytellers from antiquity. Mm-hmm. You're adding on to this.
We're very proud of our heritage, as we all are. We always, it's just a beautiful country, beautiful people, beautiful ideas, and we feel very blessed. And to be honest, we feel blessed to be American. We feel like we've got the best of both worlds. We have the best of the ancient world and the best of the modern world. And hopefully too, everything will start to kind of turn upwards and start to trend back in the right direction, because while times are hard, there's so much we need to be grateful for and appreciate. And
we love this country. We always have.
Same here.
Very, very proud.
And it's been good to our family. They fled religious persecution.
Off and just thank you guys for coming on the show. I really appreciate it, and you guys are just doing, you're a credit to our culture, and you guys are keeping it alive and really making it available in 21st century storytelling, and we appreciate that. And
thank you for having us.
Shows so much, and we thank you. And any last words from you guys before we sign off?
I just hope when COVID's all done, we can all meet up in Greece and celebrate in Greece, and that everyone will come back to Greece when this is all done.
And keep watching the show. We have 1 month. They make a decision Netflix makes a decision based on that 1 month. Keep watching it. Keep telling your friends to watch it so that we can get a season 2.
Yeah. Please watch before Thanksgiving if you can.
Yeah.
Yes.
Before Thanksgiving weekend.
Tell your friends. We're going to put this all together and put it out on our channel, and hopefully lots of people will see it and pass it on to their friends. Hey, but thank you again, and to everybody watching out there, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
To watch the channel, make sure you check out Blood of Zeus. Binge watch it. What else are you doing? It's COVID. Right? Everybody's watching. If you're living in Greece, you got 30 days where you can't even leave your house. Yeah. So what else you got? Blood of Zeus, right there for you, baby. All right. Hey, thank you. And thank you to my lovely co-hosts here, Aurora and Papiani. And I'm Bob Stavru and Stavroulakis. And God bless you guys. Thank you for joining us. And